placed it on the top of the pyramids. And for 54 hours, more than 2 days and 2 nights, we were watching what was happening while we were emitting our signals. Of course, if it was a machine, then we would know exactly when you send the signals what you're going to get back and what strength of the signal you're going to get back. So we projected that the strength should be about 0.9 volts. Well, the preliminary results have shown that the strength was over 3 times stronger than expected. So, look at our dilemma now. Obviously, the Bosnian pyramids are not natural phenomena because nothing like that can be detected in the natural world. Secondly, it does not even act as the machine because machines are predictable. What we were getting, it seems like we were having in front of us an intelligent machine. So, I hope that once all the data, they are processed, and it will take 4 to 6 months in 3 different labs, I think we're going to get very hard scientific data that we have in front of us, very intelligent machine. It sounds impossible, but that's what the science is telling us.
That's very interesting, Sam. You remind me of that scene from Close Encounters when they play the tones to the mothership and it plays it back to them. It's kind of like that, right?
Exactly right. And as a matter of fact, we've been doing some pioneering steps in recording the ultrasound on the top of the Sun Pyramid. And we are applying very sophisticated instruments. We have the scientists from Italy and Finland. And even though it's the frequency of 28 to 32 kilohertz, which we cannot hear, they found a way to convert it to something that we can hear, and it was 8 hertz. And we were playing the sounds that we would record on the top of the Sun Pyramid. So for the first time, we've proven that the pyramid speaks. I mean, the Bosnia is the land of miracles. In our case, even the pyramids speak.
That's interesting.
So we could see the recording back in December of 2010, then spring 2011, summer 2011, spring 2012, and we concluded that the recordings are a little bit different. So they depend on seasons. And when you hear those recordings, it seems like somebody was sending signals. And let me speculate here a little bit. I think that the pyramids were built not only as the machines to emit the signals, but also to receive the signals. So the signals would go 2 ways.
2-way signals.
Yes. Now, one could ask, how is it possible that, somebody had such an advanced technology? Well, the scientific instruments are showing us those results. So we should not disregard something because we think it is impossible. Obviously, it's there. So if you apply scientific protocols and the second independent team can come with different instruments and they can get the same results, it means it is scientifically proven.
Right.
And now I suggest maybe we answer a few questions.
Right, because they're starting to pile up here. One that was sent while I was off air here, has there been any attempt made to link all the known pyramid locations and energy sources therein to ascertain the potential in their existence, pointing maybe to a reason for such efforts in their construction and so forth? So I guess what we're asking here is, has any sort of correlation been made among all these pyramids and their energy sources to see if they're all targeting the same sort of purpose?
It's a really good question, and it is, common sense. I mean, if the pyramids were built all over the world, obviously there was some type of the communication between the continents. And I believe that the communication was there not thousands, but tens of thousands of years in the past. And they try to tell us that only with the white Europeans sailing in 16th, 17th century from Europe to Central South America, the communication started. This is so wrong. Well, in the beginning I said that I think there is something that we can call original pyramids. And for sure, there was a communication between them. There was a communication among different civilizations, maybe the same civilization, which was on different continents. Now, is there a way to get that energies together and do something with it? Of course there is. It is like our system today. I mean, you have so many power plants, hydro, thermal, nuclear, and then there is a way to concentrate the huge quantities of energy. Then the next question is, what would be the purpose of the energy? Well, energy you can use, in so many different ways. Today we use energy for the communication, for the transportation, for heating, for healing. With energy, you can even break the stormy clouds, so you can influence the climate. Of course, with the energy, you can attack, so you can use it for the bad purposes. And I think all these purposes were used in past.
And I guess this is going to be part of the ongoing research there at your foundation, which leads to another question here. We've got two of them that I need to get in here. When are you going to be going back to Bosnia again to open up the excavation for 2012? Let's see here. Some of the questions that you've got, we've got one about Robert Schoch. I want to make sure that you know that you're listening to Epic Voyages on InceptionRadioNetwork.com, and our line is 888-919-2355. Part of what you will read in Sam's book, which is entitled Pyramids Around the World and Lost Pyramids of Bosnia, is a pretty thorough account of the controversy that has been set off by his, not only the discovery that it is apparently man-made, concrete-like aggregate stone, that one of the pyramids is taller than the biggest pyramid at Giza. Not only that, it seems to be twice as old, and some of the dating goes back all the way to 30 to 35,000 years ago inside the tunnels underneath the pyramids itself. And as a matter of fact, there's a very extensive network of tunnels that connect all of those pyramids, the 5 pyramids in that area. One of our listeners, though, has asked a really good question about Robert Schoch, who is another writer who has been, how should I say this, commenting on the validity of some of the findings there in Vesico. And when Sam gets back online with us, which it looks like he's trying to do right now, we're going to ask him about how Sam is encountering and dealing with these. Sam, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm back here.
This is a really good question from a listener. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time going in great depth on the contentiousness of the archaeological community, but I did notice that you had one chapter in the book. Here's the question. Robert Schoch, who helped establish the great antiquity of the Sphinx, he's claiming that he inspected the Bosnian pyramids and said that they are not man-made, they are natural formations. And I know you've been sharing with us a lot of the data and the information that you validated with the aggregate stone and so on. What do you say to Robert Schoch's arguments, and how do you react to them?
Well, Robert Schoch has the opinion that they are not pyramids. On the other side, what we have are the scientific arguments. Now, he said on his website and the interviews that the Bosnian pyramids are the classical example of natural formation. Well, I asked him to give us more classical examples of hills with perfect geometry of a pyramid, four sides, triangular faces, obvious corners, perfect orientation to the cardinal points, and then below the surface, rectangular blocks, according to 6 scientific institutes who actually performed the analysis that was a man-made concrete, inner passageways, underground tunnels. I've never got scientific arguments from him, just he goes around attacking the project, myself stating, oh, we are doing all this for the money and publicity and politics and so on. But his opinion, like other opinions, are irrelevant. In science, it's only scientific argument. Robert Schoch was at the site the first year, at the very beginning of the project. And during his short visit, he hadn't, taken the samples to analyze them. If he did that, then he would have something in his hands. Instead, for some reason, goes around talking about, against the project. Now, I don't want to go to the private stuff, but of course he was the one, who asked for some money. When he didn't get it, then he started, writing against us. But that's irrelevant. Like I said, in science, it's only scientific arguments that count. He is geologist, and what we have here, that this is interdisciplinary scientific projects. We have people who are experts for the materials telling us you have artificial binder, like Professor Joseph Davidovich. We have 6 institutes.
Exactly. I'm sorry. You have presented so much data, and it's summarized beautifully throughout your book, and it's hard facts. It's observable scientific facts from different kinds of measuring devices. And other than saying, well, I don't know, here's my data, and I'm not the one that put these numbers together, other people, independent researchers came in and validated this, so I don't know what else to say.
Yes. For example, if you find the organic material in the binding material, and it gives you a date of 12,350 years, plus minus 50 years, I mean, that's a hard scientific data. Mm-hmm. If it was a natural stone, like he claimed, it would be millions and millions of years in age. And we had 12,000 years. So in science, opinions are irrelevant. But I know that this is so big, so for some people it is hard to accept. That's the reason why we always invite people come and see, measure, test, date, and then we will talk.
Right. You didn't get into the sacred math. I would point out, as a mathematician, I would point out to people that are interested in that sort of thing, be sure if you get the book that you look at the ratios of the dimensions of the Bosnian pyramids and the ones in Giza, because they're all related to either pi or the square root of pi, and it's just too much to believe that it's coincidence that all of these pyramids are related to a mound of rock in Bosnia that just happens to be grown with vegetation. Here's another question for you, and I want to make sure that you answer one question at the end about the runes, the runic writing that was found. But first of all, way back about 30 or 45 minutes ago, someone made a comment in the chat room about maybe the energy that you're measuring inside the pyramids, maybe it was related to burial chambers, and maybe they were healing to the people that were, I don't know, in there, the workers. You had quite a firm opinion yesterday in your speaking on whether pyramids around the world were used for burials. What is that opinion?
Well, for claim, you need to have some scientific arguments and proofs. For 200 years, Egyptologists have been trying to convince us that pyramids at the Giza Plateau were used to bury the pharaoh Cheops, the pharaoh Khafre, the pharaoh Myceren. But there are no mummies, no bodies, no bones, no hieroglyphic writings in those chambers, no symbols, no tools, not a single proof who, when, how, and why built those pyramids. We just have opinions of the Egyptologists and Hollywood movies trying to convince us something. It's wrong.
So you're saying it's just an assumption that they've made and they've pursued it and it's been around for so long, they're sticking with their story. Okay, we've got about 7 minutes left. When he comes back on, I do want him to address this question about the runic writing that they've found, because using a book called the Book of Runes that an expert has developed, they have actually come up with a translation of what it means. And that was the absolute stunner that he ended his speech with yesterday. Let me remind you that you're listening to Epic Voyages, brought to you on InceptionRadioNetwork.com. The dial-in line is 888-919-2355, and we're talking to Sam Osmanagich, who is the founder of the foundation that is excavating the pyramids over in Bosnia in Europe. Okay, where are some of the... One of my listeners in the chat box has an extremely good sense of humor. I have 7 minutes left to sing a song, and you really don't want me to sing any songs. So,
all right.
Would you take a minute to tell us the interesting story about the runes that you found in the tunnel, and to tell us what the translation is of those runes?
Well, what we are finding in the tunnels are carved symbols on some of the megalithic blocks. Some of those symbols look like an arrow. Some of them like letter E, lines, and so on. But on one of the blocks, which was completely buried in conglomerate, once we cleaned it, we find a number of carvings that looked like runic writing, runes, which is the oldest European writing. 7 symbols are exactly the same, like runes. Now, based on the Book of Runes, one possible decipherment or translation would be: the gate is closed. We will have to fight and conquer until the gate is open again. Now, this is just one possible translation. And everything we do, we try to have 3 or 4 independent confirmations. That's the scientific way. And even though this is the first one, it is very intriguing. But I have to say, we would need to find more megaliths with more carvings, independently verified by expert teams. And there is a good possibility for that, because in the last 7 years, we have cleaned less than 5% of the underground tunnel network.
Wow, so there's possibly a lot of megaliths still down there waiting for you to find.
There is still a lot, it's hundreds and hundreds of yards in front of us until we reach the pyramid. As a matter of fact, when you look at it in the topographic map, following those tunnels, we're going to end up exactly under the pyramid. And we had a Russian geophysicist who came with their equipment, seismic, acoustic, and when they were doing the screening of the pyramid, they discovered from the top of the pyramid, 280 meters deep, or approximately 900 feet, there was a tunnel network. And we are not there yet. They discovered the huge chambers under the pyramid. So this is what I was talking about when I said we need to use scientific means, scientific methods, scientific instruments to claim something. Otherwise, if people say, well, I believe in pyramids, or I don't believe in them, I believe they exist, or this is irrelevant. So I think it's very exciting that eventually we're going to connect to that underground network under the biggest pyramid, the Sun, but also we have a lot of reasons to believe that all the pyramids in Bosnia are connected with those tunnels. So we are in for a lot of more exciting news.
I can't wait to find out. I hope that you're going to not only be updating on your website, but one of the news feeds will pick this up and begin carrying it on the online news shows, because I really want to keep up to date on what you're doing over there. Just for everybody's benefit, I want to read exactly the quote from his book on page 249 of the translation of this runic writing. And this is, like he said, just one translation of it. But it says, quote, "The gateway is closed. We are at a standstill. We will have to act as warriors to defend and conquer until we can move again through the Stargate," unquote. Now, if that doesn't make you want to go buy this book tomorrow, I don't know why not. But Sam, we've got about 2 weeks left. Is there anything you'd like to say to everyone? What's coming up next for you in the immediate future?
Yes. In last decade, Bosnia has been known as a country of war and violence and all this negative news, and lately as the most corrupted country in Europe. We want to change that with this project. We want people to talk about the archaeology, cultural heritage, tourism, summer camp for volunteers, young people coming from all over the world, young people and those young at their hearts. So we want to change the image of the country for the better. But also we want to start a new process in science in general. We want to get rid of the scientific paradigm that we have, which is so dogmatic and so wrong. We want people to be free, and they can be free only if there is a free flow of knowledge, of information. And that's exactly what we have in Bosnia, and that's the reason why I invite everyone to visit this beautiful country. I moved back from Houston to Bosnia to be there, to run this project, and despite all these attacks for dogmatic science, and very often these are organized groups, they control Wikipedia, you cannot change anything there. They want to stop your lectures and everything, but that's insignificant. What is important is, the global importance of this project that will change the world.
I really do encourage everyone to try and find. I don't guess this book has been out long enough. I see the publication date is 2012, so it's probably not out in libraries yet, but I really do encourage you to get this book. I know about 6 months ago when I first started looking into this after I heard about it, I had found online an article written by Philip Coppens, who is one of the paranormal experts that's been on both UFO hunters and ancient aliens. And he wrote an excellent article. I believe he was at one of your conferences, right?
Yes, he was. Very good man, and speaks scientifically. Now, the book, the new book about the pyramids that I've written can be found on Amazon, and is just recently placed there. So anybody can go there, and they can either buy the e-book or order the book. And I think that would be interesting to see how many new information are out there.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it is available for people that have Kindles and Nooks and that sort of thing. That's wonderful.
Exactly.
Let's see here. I'm looking at where Osmanagich saw concrete blocks in human intervention. This is a quote from Robert Schoch. "I saw only perfectly natural sandstones and conglomerates." So let me really refer you to the last 3 or 4 chapters of his book to look at the information on the contentiousness that has been sparked by these discoveries. Anything else, Sam, for the public here? Oh, I've remembered one thing I wanted to ask you. Going back to the 12-part series that you did in Bosnia, I'm sure that's in your native language. Is there any chance that is available with even subtitles in English for anyone that wanted to see that?
That's what we've been trying to do lately, and we're going to have it in a few weeks on our websites. It will be free of charge. And personally, I don't believe in copyrights, and I don't think that we should make any selection of information. So everything you see on our website is free to use, all the photos, and that 12 episode will be also free of charge. And finally, when you mentioned Schoch again, I can say only one thing. I mean, people can believe whatever they want to. Science is something different. And in our case, we don't try to convince anyone. We want people to make their own conclusions, and we are going to provide them with all the information, with all the scientific data. And we had 2 international scientific conferences in 2008, 2011. 85 scientists from all over the world confirmed that the pyramidal artificial complex is there. So we don't try to convince anyone that it is there. Now we want to find out who, with what purpose, built such a huge complex.
It's going to speak for itself. That's what the scientific method is about. Either it confirms something, and then to the extent that you can consistently replicate that with corresponding data, it turns out to be very difficult to dismiss. So as you go on in the next few years and you're collecting and validating data that you've already collected, that will either win you some converts from the archaeological community or it won't.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's about time for us to wrap up here. I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that James Shatley and Leslie Keene will be on Epic Voyages here on InceptionRadioNetwork.com next Monday night at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And again, I want to thank our guest, Dr. Sam Osmanagich, and I am just so thrilled to have had the opportunity to talk to you personally and to hear your speech yesterday. If you see that he's coming to your town with his slideshow, I highly, highly recommend it because you will leave with a completely different feeling about how easy or how difficult it is to do confirming archaeology research. It's very interesting. So, Sam, thank you so very much, and thank you, Joe, for the extremely patient and skilled production despite all of these breaks in technology. And everybody out there listening, have a wonderful evening and go buy this book as soon as possible. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyages. I'm Roger Peacock for Epic. Until next time.
Cover up the